The lights were too bright. The room was too quiet. The camera was rolling, and Ana de Armas stood frozen in place, her lips trembling. Her eyes wide with something no one on set could understand. They had rehearsed this scene for weeks. They had walked through every line, every gesture, every tiny moment. But now, standing there in costume under the weight of all the eyes watching her, Ana felt something heavy rising in her chest. Something she couldn't name. It wasn't just nerves. It wasn't just pressure. It was something deeper, something raw. The director leaned forward in his chair, squinting, whispering to the assistant. The crew held still. No one moved. No one wanted to break the silence. Keanu Reeves, standing just a few feet away from Ana, watched her with quiet eyes. He didn't say a word. His script hung loosely by his side, forgotten. He didn't need it anymore. It memorized every word, every beat, every shift in tone. But right now, none of that mattered. Ana opened her mouth to speak. Nothing came out. She looked down at her hands. They were shaking. The director called cut, gently, not angrily, just confused. He asked for a short break. The crew slowly moved away, giving space. But Keanu stayed. He didn't walk off. He didn't head to his trailer. He simply stood there, his gaze never leaving her. He could see the storm behind her eyes, and he knew what that storm felt like. Ana turned away quickly, walking to the edge of the set, past the lights, past the cameras, into the shadows. She didn't cry, not yet, but her shoulders told the truth. They dropped like something had collapsed inside her. Keanu waited a few moments. Then he followed her, not in a rush, not as a co-star, not even as a friend, just as a person who had once stood in the same kind of silence. He found her sitting behind a stack of lighting cases. Her head was down, her breathing uneven. He didn't ask what was wrong. He didn't tell her it would be okay. Instead, he sat down beside her on the cold floor, knees drawn in, hands resting on his lap. For a long time, they said nothing, and then Ana spoke. Not to explain, not to perform, just to let something go. I thought I had it, she whispered. I thought I could do this. Keanu didn't nod. He didn't offer advice. He just said softly, you still can. Ana turned to him, her eyes full of water that hadn't yet fallen. I feel like I'm breaking, like something in me just stopped. Keanu looked down at his hands. Then he said, I had a scene once. Years ago, I was supposed to shout, break something, let all my pain out, but I couldn't. I just stood there. I couldn't move. Ana listened, not just because it was him, but because his voice didn't sound like it was telling a story. It sounded like he was still living it. The director yelled at me. Keanu went on. I apologized. And later that night, I sat in my apartment and wondered if I was even meant to be here. Ana whispered, what did you do? Keanu smiled a little. Not the happy kind. The quiet, knowing kind. I walked back onto that set the next day. This time, I didn't try to be perfect. I just tried to be real. The silence returned, but this time it felt warmer. Ana wiped the corner of her eye with the sleeve of her costume. She wasn't ready to go back. Not yet. And Keanu knew that. So he stood up slowly, offered her his hand, and said nothing. She looked up at him, unsure. He said softly, let's take a walk. Ana hesitated. They're waiting. Keanu looked toward the lights and cameras, then back to her. They'll wait. She stood slowly, taking his hand. They walked through the side door of the studio, past the trailers, into the cool afternoon air. The sky was quiet, the kind of quiet that holds you. They didn't talk much. They just walked. It wasn't about escaping. It was about breathing. Ana glanced at him. Thank you. Keanu shrugged lightly. You don't have to thank me. No, she said. I do. He looked at her and said gently, you don't owe me anything. I'm not here because of the scene. I'm here because I've been where you are. And sometimes, you don't need someone to fix it. You just need someone who won't walk away. Ana looked down at her shoes. They were still in costume. They still smelled like the set. But in this moment, the outside world felt more real than anything they had rehearsed. Keanu led her toward a quiet bench near the edge of the lot. They sat down. A few studio workers passed by. some looking, some pretending not to. No one said anything. Anna finally let out a breath. I'm scared, Keanu. He looked straight ahead. It's okay to be scared. It means you care. I care too much, maybe he said. Or maybe you care just enough to find the truth in the scene. Sometimes the fear means you're about to uncover something honest. Anna's shoulders relaxed, just a little. He turned to her. What scared you in that moment? She thought for a long time before answering. It wasn't the lines. It was that I saw myself in the character, and it hurt. Keanu nodded slowly. Those are the roles that matter. Anna's eyes filled again. But this time the tears weren't from shame. They were from release. In the distance, someone called their names. They didn't move. Keanu looked up at the sky. Do you want to go back? Anna wiped her eyes again. Not yet. He smiled gently. Then we wait. The call came again, more urgent this time. Still they didn't move. And then Keanu stood. He looked toward the set. Could see the director pacing, the crew checking their watches. He turned to Anna. Walk with me? She stood beside him. What will we say? Nothing, Keanu said. We just walk. And together they did. Past the cameras, past the questions, past the performance. Not to abandon the scene, but to honor the human. Behind it, the studio fell into an uneasy silence as the two of them crossed the set, not as actors, but as people. No one dared stop them. No one asked why. They didn't need to. Because sometimes walking away isn't quitting. Sometimes it's healing. And sometimes you just need one person to walk with you until the fear fades and the heart feels ready. Again, and on that quiet afternoon, in the middle of a busy Hollywood studio, Keanu Reeves walked off set not as a star, but as a friend. Ana de Armas didn't finish the scene, but for the first time in days, she finally felt seen. The next morning, the studio buzzed with quiet whispers. Not angry ones, not cruel ones, just quiet. Questions floating from one crew member to another. No one said it out loud, but everyone was wondering the same thing. Would Anna come back? And if she did, would she be the same? The director sat in his chair early, looking over the scene again, replaying yesterday's moment in his head. He wasn't mad, not even disappointed. He just felt something shift. The story they were telling had suddenly gotten real. Surreal. And then right before call time, Anna walked in. She didn't say much, just gave a small nod to the crew and headed to her trailer. The way she carried herself was different, not heavier, just more present. Like she'd left something behind on that walk with Keanu, something she didn't need anymore. Keanu arrived a few minutes later. Quiet as always, polite smile. A nod here, a soft hello there. He didn't go straight to Anna. He gave her space. But he kept her in his line of sight, just in case. Anna stood in front of the mirror inside her trailer, the same costume. The same scene ahead, but her reflection looked steadier now. Not because the fear was gone, but because she had faced it. It hadn't broken her. There was a knock at her door. Soft, 2 taps. She opened it to find a folded piece of paper on the ground. No one was there. She picked it up. Inside, just one sentence written in black ink. You don't have to be strong every day to still be brave. No name, no signature. But she knew. Anna folded the paper gently and tucked it into her coat pocket. Her hands were still trembling a little. But now, they weren't trembling alone. When the director called for the scene again, the crew braced themselves. Not because they didn't believe in her, but because something told them this time would be different. Anna stepped onto the set. Keanu was already there, waiting. They stood across from each other, the silence thick between them. The cameras were rolling, but this time, she wasn't acting for the lens. She was standing for herself, and then she began. The first line came quiet, slow, almost like she was still searching for it, but it was honest. And it didn't shake. Keanu responded, his voice gentle, like he was holding the scene in his hands so she wouldn't have to carry all of it alone. She kept going, line after line. Until she reached the part where she had frozen yesterday, the room held its breath. Anna paused. Her eyes drifted downward. And then, instead of forcing the line, she closed her eyes. Keanu stepped forward, still in character, still inside the scene. But there was something in his movement, softness, permission. Anna looked up at him and said the line, not perfectly, not polished, but real. The director didn't yell cut, he let the moment stretch, let it breathe. Anna finished the scene with tears in her eyes. But they weren't from failure. They were from finally letting the moment live through her. When the camera stopped rolling, the silence stayed for a second longer, and then the director whispered, that was it. The crew didn't clap. It wasn't that kind of moment. It was something quieter, something more sacred. Anna turned to Keanu, her voice shaky. Thank you. Keanu gave her a small smile. You did that? I couldn't have, she said, if you hadn't walked with me yesterday. No, looked at her with eyes full of history. Sometimes, he said, what we do off camera is more important than anything we capture on film. Later, during lunch break, Anna sat alone under a tree just outside the studio. She needed air again, not to escape, but to feel. Keanu found her there. He didn't sit right away, just stood near the edge of the shade. May I join you? He asked gently. She smiled. Please. He sat down beside her. Birds chirped above. The studio noise faded behind them. Did you ever have a role that scared you this much? Anna asked. Keanu nodded slowly. A few. One almost broke me. But it also showed me who I was. Anna studied his face. There was something in his expression, something soft and far away. Like he was remembering something that still touched him. What happened? She asked. He took a breath. I was filming overseas. My father had just passed. I hadn't told anyone. I thought if I just worked through it, it would go away. But during one scene, I couldn't hold it anymore. I broke down. Not in character, just me. Anna stayed quiet, not out of politeness, but out of respect. The director gave me 2 days off, Keanu said. But one of the crew members, a young guy who barely spoke English, left a note outside my trailer. It said, your pain made my heart understand the scene. Anna blinked back a tear. That's when I realized. Keanu whispered, sometimes the most broken part of us is the doorway to the most honest performance. They sat in silence again. Anna reached into her coat pocket and handed Keanu the folded note he'd left. I know it was you, she said. He didn't deny it. Just nodded. Double quotes. Thank you, she said again. For what? For letting me be broken and not trying to fix it. Keanu looked out at the sky. You don't fix people? You walk with them, Anna smiled. Like you did yesterday. Keanu turned to her, his voice warm. I'd like you'll do for someone else one day. As the afternoon sun dipped lower, casting soft shadows across the lot, Anna stood and stretched. I'm ready for the next scene. Keanu stood with her. And if you're not, she smiled, then we walk again. And this time, Keanu didn't lead. They walked side by side, not as stars, not as characters, but as two people who had quietly chosen to stand with each other when it mattered most. The next week moved like fog, slow in some moments, fast in others. Every day brought a new scene, a new emotion, a new chance to either rise or fall. But Anna wasn't afraid anymore. Not in the same way. Fear had been loud before, almost unbearable. Now it whispered, and she had learned how to listen without letting it rule her. Keanu stayed close. It's not hovering, not controlling, just present. Nice. Sometimes they spoke between scenes, sometimes they sat in silence. What mattered was never what was said. It was that someone was there without expectation. Then came Monday. A new scene. A difficult one. Anna's character was supposed to confront a moment from her past. The script was filled with pain, buried truths, anger that had never been voiced. The kind of material that left bruises on the actor if handled wrong, or worse if handled too well. Anna stood in wardrobe, hands trembling again. But this time, it wasn't fear. It was memory. The scene reminded her too much of something from her own life. Conversation she never got to finish. A goodbye she never got to say. She didn't tell anyone, but Keanu noticed. During rehearsal, he caught the way she flinched at one line, the way her voice dropped too low, the way her jaw locked when the director gave her notes. It wasn't acting. It was something else. After rehearsal, Keanu found her sitting on the edge of the soundstage, staring at the floor like it held answers. "You okay?" he asked, his voice light. She nodded, didn't speak. Keanu didn't push. He just sat. Beside her, after a minute, she asked softly, "Do you ever feel like some scenes aren't just scenes? Like they're echoes of something real?" Keanu nodded. "The hardest ones always are." Anna looked down. "This scene is too close." He didn't ask for details. "He didn't need them," she said. "My father and I, we left things broken." The sentence, like speaking to him through someone else's words. Keanu sat back, breathing in the weight of her confession. Then speak to him. Anna looked at him, confused. "Don't play the character," Keanu said. "Talk to him. Say what you needed to say. Use their words if you have to, but let your voice be yours." Anna blinked. "What if I cry?" "Then let it happen," he said. "Sometimes tears don't mean weakness. They mean truth." That afternoon, when the camera rolled, Anna stepped into the scene with something new in her chest. Not performance. Not fear. Truth. The words came slow at first. She tripped over one or two. But she kept going. And then something broke inside. Her, not in a painful way. In a freeing way. The dam burst. She wept during the monologue. It's not because the script told her to, but because she needed to. Keanu across from her in the scene stayed steady. Not still, but steady. His character offered her peace. But it was Keanu's presence that held her. The director let the camera roll far beyond the written lines. The scene became something else, something alive. When it ended, the room stayed quiet for a long time. No one moved. Even the camera operator looked shaken. Gently lowering the rig as if he'd just filmed something sacred, Anna stood there, breathless, her hands shaking, but not from panic. From release, someone clapped, soft at first, then another, and another. But Keanu didn't clap. He simply stepped forward, took her hand in his, and held it. Later in her trailer, Anna sat on the floor with a bottle of water. Trying to catch her breath, Keanu knocked once, then walked in. He sat down beside her, just like he had that first day. She looked at him. "I didn't know that scene would break me." "It didn't," he said. "You broke through it," she whispered. "I felt like I was standing in two worlds." "Maybe you were," Keanu said. "The world of what was and the world of what still can be." Anna leaned her head back against the wall. "What if I can't do that again?" Keanu smiled. "You don't have to. Not every scene needs blood. Sometimes honesty is quiet." Anna nodded slowly. "But today was loud." He nodded, and beautiful. That evening, as the crew wrapped and lights dimmed across the studio, Anna stepped outside alone. The sky was soft with fading sun, and everything felt gentle. She looked up at the stars beginning to peek through then. She took out her phone. There was an old voice message she had saved. From her father, years ago. It's a simple message, him reminding her to eat, telling her he was proud, even if he didn't always say it well. She played it just once, then deleted. Not because she wanted to forget, but because she no longer needed to hold on to the guilt. The next morning, Anna walked onto set with a different posture. She didn't speak louder. She didn't move bolder. She just stood straighter, and Keanu saw it. He nodded to her, quiet approval in his eyes. And for the first time in days, Anna smiled fully. Honestly, because healing had begun, not in grand moments, but in one quiet step at a time. The script had changed. Not the words, not the scenes. But something underneath it all had shifted. The director could feel it. The crew could feel it. Even the silence between takes had grown warmer, fuller, like it was holding something it hadn't held before. Anna was no longer just delivering lines. She was becoming them. And everyone noticed, not because she tried harder, but because she had stopped trying to hide, Keanu moved through the set like he always did, quiet, focused, kind. But now, when he looked at Anna, there was something different in his eyes. Not pity, not protection. Respect. Deep, quiet respect for someone who had faced herself and stayed. Standing, then came the unexpected news. The studio executives wanted to visit the set. They wanted to see progress. They wanted to sit in on one of the most emotional scenes of the film. Pressure filled the room before the announcement was even finished. Anna heard it from the assistant director. Her stomach dropped. She had been doing well, yes. But this was different. This was eyes that judged, notes that rewrote, money that changed stories. And worst of all, she knew the scene they'd chosen. It was the hospital room scene, her character. Raw and grieving, would sit beside her mother's hospital bed and speak words she had never dared to say in real life. The director had warned. Her it would be emotionally demanding. Now it had an audience that could change everything. Anna sat alone in her trailer, staring at the script. Her fingers clenched the pages too tightly. Her breathing grew shallow again. The walls felt like they were closing in. And then a knock. Not rushed, not demanding. It's just a soft knock. Keanu, she opened the door without a word. He stepped in. You heard? He asked. She nodded. How are you holding up? Anna didn't answer. Instead, she sat back down, script in her lap. Keanu walked over and sat across from her. He waited. Finally, she whispered, What if I fail again? Keanu leaned forward. You didn't fail the first time. She looked up. But what if I freeze? In front of them. What if they think I'm not good enough? He paused, then said softly, Then they weren't watching with their hearts. Anna let out a shaky breath. You make it sound so easy. Keanu shook his head. It's not. But you're not alone in it. If you fall, I'll be there. Not to catch you. It's just to sit with you until you can stand again. The tears welled in her eyes. Why do you care so much? He smiled gently. Because someone once cared that much for me. And it saved me. She didn't ask who. She didn't need to. Later that day, the studio suits arrived. Clean suits, perfect hair, calm smiles. That watched too closely. They sat behind the monitors, sipping coffee, whispering now and then. The crew moved with extra care. The pressure was thick. Anna sat in makeup, eyes closed, breathing deep. The artist gently applied a final touch of blush, then gave her space. Keanu appeared beside her, holding a small paper cup. Ginger tea, he said, for nerves. Anna took it with a quiet smile. Thank you. Remember, he whispered, it's not about them. She nodded, and then the cameras rolled. Anna stepped into the hospital room set, dressed in simple clothes, hair tucked behind her ears. She sat beside the bed where an actress lay still beneath the covers. The machines beeped softly in the background. The light was low, Anna began. At first the words came carefully. She eased into them. But then she saw her own mother's face, in her mind, tired, brave, quiet, in her pain. And suddenly, the script melted away. She wasn't acting anymore. She was speaking to the past. I was angry, she said, voice trembling. I thought you left me too soon. I thought you didn't try hard enough to stay. Her breath hitched. But I was wrong. You fought. And I was too scared to say goodbye. Her eyes filled. But she didn't stop, so I'm saying it now. Not because you need to hear it, but because I need to let it out. The tears came warm and slow. No sobs, just release. I love you. I always have, even when I didn't know how to show it. Silence. Keanu stood just off camera, watching her, not acting, not waiting for his cue. Just witnessing. The director whispered, cut. But no one moved. One of the studio executives leaned forward. Stunned, Anna sat there, breath uneven, tears on her face. And for a long moment, everyone understood they had just seen something rare. Something true. The executives didn't speak much after that. They nodded politely. They left with quiet looks, but everyone knew they had seen what they came for. And more? After wrap, Anna sat alone on the floor again. This time backstage, Keanu found her. Sat beside her. She didn't speak. He handed her a small envelope. "What's this?" she asked. "A note, like the one I gave you," he said. "But this one is from you to yourself." She opened it. Inside were her own words, written in her handwriting. "I didn't run. I didn't hide. I spoke, and I survived." Anna looked at Keanu. "You made me write this?" He smiled. "I asked the director to have you write it yesterday, before you knew what scene was coming. I thought you might need the reminder." Anna closed her eyes, pressing the paper to her chest. "I think," she whispered, "this film is changing me." Keanu nodded. Asterisk, the best ones always do. 3 weeks passed. The film was nearly complete. The energy on set had shifted. It was no longer tense. It was no longer filled with questions. It had become something else, something gentle, something real. The cast moved like a family. The crew whispered jokes. Even the director smiled more. But inside Anna, something unexpected had begun to grow. Doubt not about the story, not about the film, but about herself. Each powerful scene had taken something from her. Each moment of honesty had cracked something open. And now, she felt like a glass that had been filled and emptied too many times. Her strength, so clear just days ago, had started to fade in quiet ways. She missed meals. She stared at walls for long stretches. She didn't sleep well. People noticed. But no one asked. Except Keanu. After a long day, he knocked on her trailer door again. Same knock. 2 soft taps. Anna opened it slowly. Her eyes were tired. He held up 2 cups. Mint tea and silence. "Your choice," she smiled, but it was weak. They sat together on the small sofa inside. Anna looked at her hands. "I feel hollow." Keanu didn't speak. "I've given everything to this role," she said, her voice low, "and I'm proud of it. But now that we're near the end, I don't know what's left of me." Keanu nodded slowly. "Sometimes when we tell stories that come from real places, they leave real marks. I feel used up." He leaned back, looking up at the ceiling. "You're not used up. You're just open. Being open is exhausting." Anna closed her eyes. "I thought acting was supposed to be pretend." Keanu smiled gently. "The best kind never is." They sat for a while, the silence holding them. Both then Keanu said, "I want to show you something." He stood and held out his hand. Anna took it, trusting. They walked out of the trailer. Past the lights, past the stage, toward the back of the studio lot. There was a small path behind the buildings where few people ever went. It led to a hidden garden, tiny, quiet, and full of soft green life. Keanu led her to a bench beneath an old tree. The breeze moved the leaves like whispers. "This is where I come," he said, "when I need to remember who I am outside the cameras." Anna looked around. "It's peaceful, 'cause no one's watching," Keanu said. "You don't have to perform here." They sat in the silence. Anna asked, "Do you ever feel like you've given too much?" Keanu nodded. "Many times." "What do you do then?" "I let myself be empty," he said, "and I let the world fill me back up, slowly." Anna took a deep breath. The air smelled like leaves and old wood and something almost forgotten. "Stillness, maybe," she said. "I don't need to be strong right now." Keanu looked at her. "You don't?" Anna whispered, "I'm scared of finishing this film. Because it means I have to go back to being me." "Maybe," Keanu said softly, "you'll come back as someone better." Anna blinked. "What if I don't know who that is? Then we find her together." The breeze grew stronger, lifting. "Strands of her hair," Anna said. "I never thought a film would change my life." Keanu smiled. "Sometimes a story chooses you, not the other way around." They walked back to the set slowly. And that night, Anna stayed behind after everyone had left. She sat on the hospital room set again, lights dimmed, no cameras running. She just sat on the bed, staring at the space where her scene had happened, and quietly. "To no one," she whispered, "I'm still here." Keanu, watching from a distance, didn't interrupt. He just smiled. The next morning. The final scene was scheduled. The last day of filming. Everyone was quiet. The scene was intimate, her character finally finding peace. Yay! Saying goodbye not with words, but with silence. Anna stood in costume, waiting for her cue. Keanu approached, already in his own costume. He looked at her. "How are you feeling?" Anna smiled softly.
Empty.
"But okay. Good," he said. "Because this last scene, it's not about pain anymore." "What is it about?" she asked. "Grace," he whispered. And when the cameras rolled, Anna stepped into the final scene with no fear. No mask, no walls. Just presence. Her eyes said more than the script ever could. And when the director whispered, "Cut for the last time," no one clapped. They stood still, honoring what had been created. Anna stood in the middle of the set, her chest rising and falling with quiet emotion. Keanu walked to her. I didn't say a word, just opened his arms. And Anna, without hesitation, stepped into them. They hugged, not like actors, like survivors, like friends, like two people who had walked through something together and made it out the other side. Changed. The set was quiet now. It's empty halls, rolled up cables, chairs stacked in corners. The lights that once burned all day were off, the cameras packed away. The final slate had snapped shut yesterday, and now all that remained was the soft echo of scenes that would soon live only on screens. Anna walked through the space slowly, her shoes silent against the wooden floor. She paused by the hospital bed, her fingers brushing the white sheet one last time. This room had changed her. Not just her performance, not just her career. It had changed her. Keanu was already waiting outside, leaning against a post near the studio door. He didn't say anything as she stepped out. She offered a soft nod. She walked up beside him. "I said goodbye to the room," she said. He smiled. "That's good." They stood there for a long moment, the morning sun just beginning to stretch. Over the horizon, it was warm, gentle, and not like the sharp light of the set. Its light didn't judge. Anna said, "I don't know what happens now." Keanu looked out at the street, where cars passed by slowly, unaware of the weight behind those studio walls. "You live," he said. She smiled softly. "And if I get lost again?" "Then you remember," he said. "You remember you don't have to walk alone." Anna looked down. Her hands felt strange now, without a script. No words to memorize, no scenes to prepare. Just life, unfiltered. She turned to Keanu. "Can I ask you something?" He nodded. "Why did you stay with me?" "That day when I couldn't finish the scene, you could have walked away." Keanu's eyes didn't flinch. "Because I've seen what happens when no one stays." Anna swallowed hard. "But I was falling apart." "You weren't falling apart," he said softly. "You were falling open, and you didn't judge me." Never. She looked at him, her voice barely a whisper. "Do you think I did okay?" He chuckled gently. "You did more than okay. You told the truth. That's the only thing people remember." They stood in silence again, and for the first time in weeks. The silence felt like home. Keanu pulled something from his jacket pocket, a small object wrapped in soft cloth. "What's this?" she asked. He handed it to her. She opened it carefully. It was a small pendant, a tiny silver tree, roots twisting into branches. "It's beautiful," she said. Keanu said, "I got it years ago, when I was going through something. It reminded me that even when you're buried, your roots can still grow." Anna stared at it, touched. "Are you sure?" "You don't have to wear it," Keanu said. "Just keep it. And when you feel lost, let it remind you that you've already survived more than you think." Anna held it tightly in her hand. Thank you, Keanu said, "for letting me walk with you." They hugged again. No cameras, no audience. Just two people who had seen each other in the most honest ways. Later that week, Anna flew to Madrid to see her family. She didn't tell anyone. She didn't post about it. She just went. She sat with her mother in the quiet of a small cafe. They didn't talk much about the film. They talked about old stories, forgotten memories, things left unsaid. And one night in her old bedroom, Anna cried, not from sadness, from the weight of what she'd released, from the person she had become. Months passed. The film premiered at a quiet screening first. No red carpet, just cast and crew. The lights dimmed. The story played. And when the credits rolled, no one clapped right away. They just sat there. Eyes full, Anna looked over at Keanu, seated a few rows behind her. He gave her a thumbs dash up and mouthed, "You did it." The world saw the film weeks later, and they did. Not just see a performance, they saw honesty, they saw truth. People wrote letters, people cried, people said. Anna read each message slowly, quietly, letting every word settle in her bones. She had not just acted, she had spoken to something. People didn't always know how to name, and maybe that was the point. One evening, Anna received a package in the mail. No return address. Inside was a handwritten letter. It said, "I watched your film, and for the first time in years I called my mother. We cried, we talked, we forgave. Thank you for giving me the words." Anna folded the letter carefully. Her hands didn't shake. She walked outside, stood under the stars, and breathed, not as a star, not as a character, just as herself. And somewhere across the world, Keanu Reeves, sitting quietly on his porch with tea in his hands, smiled. Because he knew sometimes the scene that breaks you is the one that saves someone else. And walking off set that day with her wasn't the end, it was the beginning.